Hi everyone, my name is Tapan. I'm founder of My Labs, and I've been asked to basically chair this very exciting session. It's about money, it's about the moolah. We've been talking about AI for so long. What about the investment into AI? And unfortunately, we've been just given, what, 30 minutes? So let's just start rolling. We have two rock stars out here from the investment world. And we have Deepak, who's, like she just mentioned, he is the owner, he is the founder of the generative India Accelerator, yes, India Accelerator and AI Labs. He's a coach, he is an entrepreneur, he is an angel investor, and I'm also told that he's also an aspiring yogi. So that was something very interesting. I was just wondering how it's, that Zen focus in the investment world, if the investment world is ready for that Zen focus. And of course, we have Kapil out here. He's a VP investments from Mumbai Angels. Mumbai Angels, I'm told, is very, very rigorous in terms of doing the due diligence and also evaluating. I'm told they reject 90% of these startups that come to them, and they select only 10% of them. So startups out here, believe me, if you can stand their scrutiny, then you are doing something really good. Now, I personally feel that AI is basically a productivity revolution. We at My Labs are using AI for our own purpose. We are not an AI company, but we're using AI where AI has helped us reduce a turnaround time on the immersive content that we are creating. AI has helped us prioritizing the patents that we have. We have patents on the 5 senses, and we are productizing them. AI has helped us in automation of our the quality checks. So as the world that we see is going to change really, really fast, and it's going to bring a lot of challenges and opportunities for both the investors and the startup community. So without further ado, let's just get rolling on this beautiful journey. And so, like I mentioned, she was just talking about, so why don't I do a Karan Johar, and I do a rapid fire question and not so much rapid fire answers. And shall we start? So who should we start with? Deepak? Okay. So let me, as he says, let me open my ABC, whatever lights he talks about. And of course, when we are talking about rapid fire, there has to be some kind of gift hamper. So what do you say if we present to you a bouquet of startup pitch decks, and either of you can choose, whoever is the winner can choose where to invest? Is that fair? Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. So we'll start with Deepak. And I need to wear my reading glasses. So I'm actually doing a Karan Johar out here. So Deepak, first one for you. What are the major global trends in AI development, and how does India landscape compares to that? And we are talking about from a perspective of an angel investor and the VC.
Thank you so much, Tapan. That's a very interesting question. Generative AI, as we know, is sweeping the world. We have seen what microprocessors did to personal computing, to internet, to smartphones. And this is the next wave of digital revolution which is happening, unfolding into our eyes in terms of generative AI. When I look at generative AI and the broad trends which are happening across the globe, I would want to bucketize under 4 broad categories. The first one is around the infrastructure, the Gen AI infrastructure specific layer, where there is very interesting things which are happening on the chips specific side. So when we look at NVIDIA, we look at H400 GPU, H200 GPU, we look at the memory, which some of these chips hold in terms of 141 gigabytes, in terms of the processing speed of terabytes per second. So very, very interesting space which is unfolding in front of eyes. We also look at, Amazon and some of these other big tech companies coming out and investing into chips manufacturing. While they are using NVIDIA's chips, they are also trying to invest and move into the manufacturing specific space. We also look at very, very specialized data centers, which are hosting some of these AI servers, which have a very, very different kind of requirements in terms of hosting these servers and applications, whether it is respect to the energy, whether it is respect to the cooling kind of technology which is happening in that. There is also a trend in terms of the energy which is needed. Some of these small fusion nuclear power plants are being invested in terms of providing energy to these data centers. So this is one broad trend on the infrastructure side that I see. The second one is unfolding on the foundational LLM specific sides, where we see multimodal LLMs, we see open source LLMs in terms of Mixtral. We are seeing also a trend of SLMs or small language models, which are very specific to enterprise specific use. So that's another trend that we see there. Then we see a very interesting space in terms of human machine interfaces. So our esteemed panelists from our last panel, they were talking about phones. So we are looking at screenless wearables. Generative AI is hunting for the next iPhone, which will come out of AI. We are looking at Devin as an artificial intelligence developer, which will replace humans. So very, very interesting things in that specific space. And then not to forget on the app specific side, plethora of apps which are there in terms of on the text side, on the video side, on the speech specific side. When I look at from an India specific perspective, we all know Kritim is positioning itself as a full stack AI platform. We also look at, there are few interesting use cases which are coming out in terms of Sarvam AM, which is producing a Bharat-specific LLMs of native Indian languages. And then India, by virtue of its prowess on the app-specific side, is leading the space, on application development of generative AI, faster time to market, cheaper in terms of the costs, the quality, and overall very, very interesting trends which are sweeping us on the generative AI side.
So while it was supposed to be a rapid, not so rapid answer, but I think we need to concise it a little further. I'm sorry. So the next question is, how do you assess a AI startup product market fit? What makes a solution stand out as a potential winner for you as an investor?
So if I look at, what do we look at in a generative AI specific startup? Again, we have laid out benchmarks and principles and frameworks which we leverage. So there is a 4T framework that we use at India Accelerator. There is a 3R risk framework that we use. So we map the startups against those specific frameworks. Specifically, when it is generative AI startups, it's very, very new in the market. We look at the team, the kind of experience the founders have, the kind of tech, the kind of IP, that they are building, and more importantly, the TAM, that we'll be able to have as part of that specific startup. So these are some of the things that we look at in terms of evaluating the startup. And then from a valuation specific perspective, again, it's very difficult to put specifically if you have a startup which is having revenues, which is having some CAC and numbers and so on and so forth. You could have a lot of valuation specific models to value a startup, but when it is pre-revenue, a lot of deep tech specific work which is happening, it's very, very difficult to measure it. So typically what we do is we look at comparable market analysis somewhere else, and when we see the median seed fund rounds in the range of $5 to $8 million. When it is Series A, it is like $10 to $15 million. So we look at comparable market analysis in terms of where those things are going. We also try to look at when it is very difficult to put a trend in terms of what the valuation is, going for CCDs or CCPS or safe specific rounds in the US. Yeah. That is something typically that we do.
Nice. And since you are part of this India Accelerator, how important are incubators and accelerators in specializing in AI?
Specifically, I can talk about, from an India accelerator perspective. So what we do is we provide 4 Cs to our startups. So the first one is capital. So anywhere between 50 lakhs to about $500,000 is what we invest as a seed fund or initial check into the startups. We help in terms of improving the competency of the startup. So we have more than 120 plus mentors. They are specialized domain mentors. They are horizontal mentors, which help the startups and help them with their specific business. Through our network, we also help them acquire businesses. So through our connections, and then we have a 220 plus startup founders, which are part of a thriving community. So in that, they also learn. We have offices in Dubai and then a presence in US. So through that, we also give them access to other geographies in terms of growth. That's typically, how as an accelerator, we help the startups in terms of their growth and take them from 1 to 10, in their specific startup journey.
That's really commendable. And how do you assess the potential value of data sets and algorithms and team behind the AI startup?
Again, as I mentioned, it's very difficult, specifically at a pre-revenue specific stage. So what we do is we have a framework called 4Ts, where we look at the team, we look at the traction, we look at the technology, and we look at the overall technology which they are trying to build. So considering if traction is not there, we look at the kind of technology, the IP, the kind of experience which the founders have in terms of building some of these technologies. Do they have a healthy mix of people who can do sales, who can do marketing, who can win businesses? At the same time, they can also build the deep tech which they are looking for. And then we also look at the TAM in terms of, how big this business could grow. So for example, if it is more on the app specific side, and if it is more on the vertical specific side, there is a specific TAM, that you could look at. But when you go deeper into the different layers, when you are working on the ML ops layer, or when you go further deep into the foundational models, or when you are trying to build frameworks like LangChain, which helps in terms of interface with the large language models, or when you are looking more onto the semiconductors, cloud-specific areas, then the TAM is much bigger. So we look at some of these specific criterias and then comparable market analysis, and then value the specific business.
Okay, so that brings me to the last question. So looking 5 to 10 years out, where do you see the most impactful application of AI technology?
So primarily, if we look at from an India accelerator perspective, we work on investment thesis. So we have 6 theses on which we are betting our investors' money on. So Singularity is our generative AI vertical, and we are quite gung-ho in terms of our investors and putting in our investors' money, LPs' money in terms of growing it. So we are trying to find out young founders which are working on very promising ideas, which have exponential returns for our investors. 4 broad areas that we have marked out in terms of generative AI. The first one is in terms of software engineering on the product specific side. So a lot of tooling, a lot of code generation specific work. The second one is more on the sales and marketing specific side in terms of content. So if it is content, video content, helping in terms of accelerating the sales and marketing side. The third specific area is more on the customer support and operations, where AI assistants could replace, what you could have on the phone specific side. And the fourth area is more on the product R&D, helping the R&D teams with their specific research, with bots and assistants. So those are 4 broad areas which we believe and I have a hypothesis on which generative AI will really drastically revolutionize, and where also the enterprises will put in a lot of their money and a lot of their investments, and hence it will be a win-win situation for the startups, for the enterprises, as well as for our investors.
Great. I think you did very well on your rapid fire. Now, coming to Kapil. So, Kapil, like we started and we were having our discussions, it's more you reject than you select in terms of when you analyze for the purpose of investment. Now, my first question to you would be, beyond the technology, what are the key founder traits that inspire confidence for you to considering investing into that AI startup?
Sure. So Yeah, so basically it is not just about the Gen AI startups that we evaluate that way, but mostly any startup that comes to us for the evaluation, a high percentage is given to the founder traits. Because at the end of the day, it is the founders that we are betting on. So some of the traits would be, if they are into generative AI, do they have the technical know-how to build that product? If it is related to a specific domain or a sector, do they have that sector expertise? Uh, Apart from that, we would also want to see, are they able to onboard good talent on the board to make a good team, a team which can run the business, and it should have like supplementary skill set, right from your building the tech to selling the product per se. So basically, these are the traits that we look for. And apart from that, we also speak to founders multiple time to see how comfortable are we with the founders, how coachable are the founders, are they rigid. So these soft skills make a huge difference, which also gives us a confidence that if anything does not go the way it is planned, do the founders have the capability to pivot at the right moment and come out of that situation? So basically, these are few traits that we look into every startups, be it Gen AI or otherwise.
Great. As they say that, I've noticed that investors largely say that we don't invest in companies, we invest in people.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So my next question is, which metrics are important, especially in the early stages of AI startup? For example, is there a key difference between a normal startup and an AI startup? What are the key metrics that you would see actually in an AI metrics, in an AI startup, because it's a new area and there are a lot of comparables which are not available to you. So what are these key metrics that you would see?
Sure. So since the sector is evolving right now, so few of the KPIs that we generally prefer not to oversee is one, the data that they are training that AI on, because at the end of the day, it is the data which would determine how the output would be driven. So one is the data set that they are using. Second, we also would like to see the accuracy of the output. uh, Apart from the data and output, we also try to see, I mean, how are the customers or the early pilots users are finding the results? Are they happy with the results, or are they asking for any changes? So how happy is the customer? So these are few of the early signs that we see whenever we evaluate Gen AI startups. Uh, it is not that difficult when we are evaluating the traditional startups, because there we have lot of KPIs. Uh, so here it is more about the data, their accuracy, churn rate, adoption rate. So these are kind of the data we look for early stage investments when we do it from Mumbai Angels.
Do
So
you want to add something to it?
just to add
Yes.
to what Kapil mentioned, I think all of those are great, metrics, which are, kind of lagging measures. We also look at considering generative AI is more like a product, PLG. So a lot of metrics around product-led growth is something that we also look at. So very comparable that we'll be able to see is more on the OpenAI front. When we look at OpenAI, is the fastest app to 100 million users, in just flat 2 months. So we look at, so if there is no revenue, is there a, PLG led, is there a user, growth which is happening, week on week, month on month, or, quarter on quarter? That's something that we do. And if those things are happening, the revenue and all those things which will already, fall in
Follow.
place.
Yeah.
So if you look at OpenAI, year before this, their revenue was $200 million. Now they closed December with $1.6 billion revenue. So in that sense, the product-led growth, and even if they're 10% of the users are paying, I think it's a huge upside, that you see with that PLG.
Yeah, great. So while he is taking your time, but I'll still give you your 5 questions. So my next question would be, so AI, and there was a session on ethical thing. AI is facing ethical and regulatory concerns. How do you as an investor assess these risks? So one is, of course, data like you mentioned, but are there anything else that you would want to, because I would like to share with you a small thing that we did. So one is that all the startups, AI startups, are following all kinds of ethical policies and everything. But is their AI actually behaving ethically is a very important question. And right now, time doesn't permit. Otherwise, I would have shared some POC that we did, which showed that actually Claude is the only AI which is behaving ethically. Unlike OpenAI and even Gemini, they are not behaving ethically, while they claim that we have all the ethical policies in place. So from an investor point of view, what are the risks and how do you mitigate that risk because of the concerns around ethical development of AI?
Right. So as you mentioned correctly, that there are great risks when it comes to data, and we have seen multiple examples where the companies, the startups have been sued. And as an investor, we would never want that our money is not used as a growth capital, but to fight these suitcases. So basically, we have a team who looks after, testing the product and seeing if they are complying with it. And then we also speak to the experts in the sector to extensively look into the software or the product that they have made to see if there are any breaches which is possible. And once we are happy with it, we also do a deep due diligence into it, which would go more into the legalities and those aspects as well. So anywhere, if we find that there is any single red flag as well, so we are very fast in dropping the deals at later stages as well.
Nice. I think because you are the guys who have the stick because of money, and you can guide these startups to stay on the right side of the law. Otherwise, this is something, we are living in a regulated environment, and we cannot be oblivious of that.
And also the AI regulations are now becoming more and more mature. So we would not want to invest in any company which might end up being shut down because of exploiting these laws.
Yes, sure. So that brings us to our last question. Same question, looking 5-10 years out, where do you see most impactful applications of AI technology?
So personally, I would like to see lot of exciting works in the field of automation, maybe robotics. The advanced generative AI can be used to mature the robotics software and all. The other, I would say, would be the personalized medicines in the healthcare domain, and some work around the clean energy field, the climate change. So these are few of the areas I am very positive that the generative AI can contribute a lot.
Great. So I think that brings us to the close of our rapid fire and not so rapid fire answers. And I think this hamper will have to go to both of you. Thank you very much. Guys, a big round of applause for both our. And if any of you have any word-changing ideas, please meet them afterwards. They're the people loaded with money. Thank you.
Thank you, Tapan.